And we're on. Welcome to School of Performance, episode 24, with the one and only Demitri Harris. How are you,
What's
man?
going on, man?
It's good to see you, man. It's been a minute.
For sure, for sure.
It's been years, bro. Like beyond, like I always say, beyond like this podcast and the value it gives people, and like all the information that we give out to people. Is this cool? Like just connecting, man. Because it's been a while. It's been like years, and we've been so
Yeah.
close throughout my time in Van, and it's good to see you, man.
When was that I last saw you? We were at Victory Square.
Yeah, I think my last visit out there, I think it was 2 summers ago, right at the beginning of
Okay.
COVID, and we caught up, and
Years
yeah,
ago.
we hung out in the sunshine a little bit, and caught up. Yeah, it's been a minute, man. Time flies. So I know you personally. Like we've had lots of shared experiences, but I think for those who are joining us now and those that will listen in the future, kind of tell us a little bit about who's Demi.
Oh, okay. Well, not too much. I grew up in the east side of Vancouver, the Downtown Eastside. I'm very proud of that. I went to two very prestigious schools, Strathcona and Britannia, for elementary and high school. I went on to play university at Cap with you. One of my best years. Yeah, that was awesome. And then I went on to St. Mary's and played a couple years pro. Basketball is my main sport. I have played a couple other sports in my life, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll never forget, and I'm sure we'll do another episode about this because I told you this too. Like that whole story of coming from East Van and kind of like sort of carrying the city on your back, and with Brit, you guys with provincials and all that. I think it's super cool, man. It's like an underexposed story sort of thing. Like I think it's super cool you guys did down there with Steph and with all those guys. Like a relatively small school to make that much noise on like the provincial level is super cool. And
what was that?
Talk about that. Like,
sorry,
what's that?
I didn't catch what you said.
I'm saying about Brit and how like just such a small school.
I didn't.
I forget we're on video, bro. I keep thinking we're just on audio.
I was showing him my provincial championship ring, one of my favorite things I have.
For those that will listen on audio later on, yeah, you'll have to. The experience will be only halfway there for you guys, but yeah, showing me the bling, showing me the ring, yeah, for sure. So that's a cool story, man, and we'll touch on that. That's not as much what we're here to talk about today, but
thank you. I also wanted to say, man, you and Leland, the way you guys brought me under your wing and introduced me to North Van, I always have a special spot in my heart with North Van because of you guys.
No doubt.
And how cool you guys are. Yeah, that was pretty dope. How we just clicked, man.
I appreciate that, man. I'll let him know. I'll tag him on here. We've been in touch too, and Mike Zayance and all those guys. It's just staying close, man. It's been years, and yeah, like when we came out there, I remember we would leave school early. I'll say for all the teachers and educators in the crowd, but and we would do like major field trips, kind of see all these. That's a whole nother conversation we could have too. Just seeing like different cultures in different areas in Vancouver because there's so much to see. Like I remember we would take buses to like Coquitlam and see Ashton, and we would see you guys and Steph and Willie and East Van, and we would see like all these different parts. And it was almost like me and Leyland would travel like within Greater Vancouver, like what we experienced later in life throughout the world. We experienced in like grade 7, grade 8 throughout Vancouver because there's so many great parts, man. And I appreciate you too for that, man, because it was good times, man, seeing different cultures and hanging out with different schools, and
for sure
really opened our mind up.
That was hella dope.
I want to start up with like basketball, like just kind of reminiscing and like what were some of your favorite experiences on the court, whether it be in high school or college or in the pro level. That'd be cool to hear.
Definitely winning is one of my favorite things. So, winning provincials was pretty high up there. Yeah, definitely winning. Posters are also my favorite things. Like posters that I will always remember. Dunking on one or two people at the same time was some of my favorite memories about basketball. But definitely mostly the camaraderie. Just showing up to a court and knowing 10 or 20 guys is pretty rare if you think about a person, like they don't know that many people, but when you like have close bonds with that many people, I think it's quite special.
Right. I think that's what a lot of people say too when they're towards the end of their careers, like that's what they miss the most. Like more than we're all super competitive, we're all super performance oriented, and like the winning part is definitely a big chunk of it. But more than anything, like the camaraderie and the social aspect of like being on a squad and hanging out in the locker room. And I remember, like, we're not gonna say it on here, but I remember countless times of like the jokes we would have in the locker room at camp. Like that's just stuff you'll remember for life. You know what I mean? So
for sure,
it's huge.
Yeah.
And today, like, I guess we want to touch more about before that, I'll reminisce a little bit about I think one of my first kind of like bigger tournaments in Van after I moved there from Israel was BC Games. I think it was grade 7.
Yeah.
And that was the first time we kind of it accumulated a bunch of players from all these different areas of Greater Vancouver, and we're all the same squad. I think that's how we met. And Layla was on that team, and Traz was on that team, and Ty Nurse. And if I'm forgetting other guys, my bad. But it was a great group of guys, like beyond ball. It was just a great group of personalities. And I think that was my first experience, because you don't have that in Israel, right? Like, or maybe on like national teams out here, but I wasn't here during that age. But that was my first experience of like, you accumulate all these great players from all these different areas, and now you get to connect on that different level. Again, similar to traveling, you get to see all these different people coming from different areas of the city and different cultures and different that. And that was super sweet. That was a really cool experience, man. And it kind of goes to show how sports in general and ball goes like beyond the court, right? And we all connected and we all stayed in touch. And I remember all you guys, we would be friends like throughout high school and all that.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever talked to Jeff Lightburn again, but
if he sees this, man, we still love him. Even the performance on the court was good. So we're hearing more about the whole COVID stuff, and I want to hear about your COVID experience, and we want to always take it to the place where how it can affect people in a positive way, and kind of, I think we all have a lot to learn about how to deal with stuff. Like, I don't think it's anything like this has met us throughout, our lifetime, especially us, like being whatever 20, 30 years old. Like, this pandemic is something that's so new, and it has an effect on so many different aspects of our lives. And I know you wanted to open up about that and kind of touch down. I think it's a great subject that could affect a lot of people.
No, I definitely, I do agree, but I do remember one point. I don't know if you guys had the same thing, but we had like a job action.
What's that? No, I'm not sure.
It was like a strike or whatever. I think it was grade 7 for us, but we weren't allowed to play that year, and that was real tough.
Way.
Yeah, that was real tough. Your whole season's gone. Like,
really?
I really feel for the kids that are playing high school right now that lost the whole season.
Right, with COVID.
Your grade 12 year? Oof.
Yeah. No, you got to update me, man, because, I know a little bit, like, from buddies and stuff about what it's like over there. But, the fact that they lost a season, like, I had no idea that it went down to that. And it's crazy, right? Like, to affect the players' mentality and their love for the game and their habits that they've worked so hard to build up, right?
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about your experience throughout this past little while.
Oh, my experience was pretty tough, man. I grew up with, with amazing athletics in my life. My mom was an athlete. We were always throwing something: baseball, basketball, football. And then in school, always about the athletics. But when COVID happened, like, I'm not really into jogging, bro.
Right.
What else? The gyms are closed. The pools are closed. Everything's closed, and you got to stay inside. That was rough, man.
That really hit you guys hard, as far as like in Canada with the what's it called, like the lockdowns. Like, guys, there's nothing open and there's none of that, right? Streets
were empty.
So how'd you manage that? What'd you end up doing? What was your schedule like?
I did Zumba a couple times.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of chilling, man. There was a lot of chilling. Yeah.
And what effect did that have on you? What was that like?
At first, I didn't notice any effect. I was catching up on shows. I was playing a lot of games on my phone. I thought it was great. I went over to a friend's house, and she has a she has a scale in her washroom. And I looked at it. And I went outside and I said, hey, I was like, yo, your scale's broken. What's wrong with this thing? This is bogus, bro. What are you talking about? And she's like, no, that's right. And yeah, I gained 45 pounds just under the rug. I don't know what happened.
That's wild.
Yeah. It was pretty shocking.
And how'd you manage that once you realized like something is kind of astray here? What was your next step like?
It wasn't, straight away. I didn't really react too quickly to it. I had some pretty bad habits. I was eating, Uber Eats every day, maybe 2 times, 3 times a day, sitting around all the day, So it was
tough, man.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. Just recently, I've finally been getting back into basketball, and
nice.
And that's been kind of my saving light, pretty much.
Word.
Yeah.
How'd you find like your environment related to you during that time? Like, what was that like?
Like how so?
Around you? I guess the people around you. How, like, if people were trying to motivate you, or did you find that people were maybe a little bit looking at you differently, or?
Oh yeah, I definitely got comments on my IG, calling me names and stuff. That was It was funny at the time, I think guys have, men usually have a different way of, communicating when they're bros, about issues such as, being overweight and stuff like that. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, what was going on there? How did it affect you?
I remember I did a polar bear swim. For how like New Year's Eve.
That's freezing water, right?
Yeah. So I posted a video of me jumping in the water. It was my first time out in a long time, and yeah, the comments were brutal. It was hilarious. Yeah, I was laughing for sure. But yeah, it definitely stuck in my head.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think people I've experienced it too, like with the podcast or with anything. I think we all have this spot where if you want to really start running something on social network, like, you got to be comfortable with what people are going to say. Yeah. And I think people, as not as much as uploaders, but more as commenters, have a tendency to kind of think that like whoever they're talking about is like invincible, or he's like this, or she or whatever is like this super god, or like it's inhumane and nothing affects them, and then they allow themselves to write whatever they want. And it's fine to think about it. I think social, like I do lectures about this to kids in like high schools and middle schools and elementary schools about the effect of social networks and like cyberbullying and all that stuff. Like, I think people forget that there's like a real person on the other side, and it's jokes and it's all that, but and then it accumulates.
And then there's also the other side where it's like almost impossible to like get tone out of a comment. You can't tell someone's tone.
The subjectivity of it is
you can't tell the delivery. You don't know how this is coming across, right? Whether they're being sarcastic. There's no Alex for sarcasm or anything like that. I think that's a
really good point. Like, some could write a thing and you don't know how to take it. And now what happens is your subconscious mind, your subjectivity kicks in. Like, what do they mean by that? And you're running it through your head, right? I've definitely caught myself doing that a bunch of times. Like, what's the real meaning behind this? I guess, if we would navigate it to the positive, like, maybe what would you have liked to see from people, or how do you think in that situation people can kind of become more of motivators rather than of judges? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely don't have an answer for that. I have changed my wording as a coach to maybe better suit everyone instead of just the winners and the losers. I would say non-winners instead of losers. Loser is a pretty, it's a put down, right? No one thinks it is, but it kind of, wording is definitely, like you say, very important. Very important.
I think like you're saying, man, it's so true. I just read something about this yesterday. I think it was Robin Sharma does on a podcast, and he talked about it, about like the language we use, and even little things like let's get this shit done, like I'm killing this garbage or whatever. It's like we relate to our lives in a certain way. Like if we talk to a kid and we're like, win or loser, we may not notice it, but that has an effect. Like every word that we use, every piece of language that we use has an effect, right? Like the semantics of things. Yeah. I always tell the kids I work with, little things make a huge difference. These little things, these little nuances in language make a big difference. I guess if I was to like general public announcements, if I was to talk to general public, I think we all would benefit from a place of when we comment or when we mention, like it's fun to have jokes and stuff, but if we came from a place, like if we was to see that person in real life, and what would we tell them? Would we be, I mean, I think we all got to take that perspective. That's what I always tell the kids I work with, is take the perspective of, if you were to see this person in real life, like what would you tell him or her? Where would you take that? Would you be joking like that? Would you leave that subjectivity in there where it could even become like offensive or hurtful? Or would you take, kind of responsibility for your words, and would you come from a more motivating place? Because I'll tell you, since going into this coaching stuff, and this mental training stuff, I've also seen the positive side of things, and how incredibly influential and motivating people can be in social network as well. Like, is this whether they choose to, right? It's easy to write a crappy comment and put someone down, and maybe it takes a little bit more to bring someone up.
Definitely. Yeah.
I guess the next thing would be like self-doubt. Like where's that met you throughout this whole time, or maybe throughout your playing career?
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. Taking all that time off, it was not easy, because usually as a basketball player, you have a standard to keep up to, right?
For sure.
You're training every day, if not every other day, working on different parts of your game, trying to get 1% better.
Right.
Then you sit out for 30 to 60 days, and you come back into a game. It's like a whole different game all of a sudden, right? And I was slower. My touch was way off. It was hard. And then coming home and then having to go play again is very tough. Oh man, I got to go through that again. Like, I used to be quite good.
Right.
Yeah, that was tough. Yeah, I think it took about 4 or 5 times playing again to finally get back. I'm almost there. Still a half a step behind what I was before COVID, but yeah, that was shocking. Have you found any differences to your ideology going in and playing basketball since being a 30-year-old?
with the age, or with COVID?
Well, both. I think they come hand in hand. We start time off.
COVID was quite interesting, because I think I've told a lot of my friends across the water in Canada that it didn't hit us quite as hard out here. Like, it hit as far as the numbers, but life was relatively regular out here. Like, there was a lockdown for maybe a couple weeks, and schools were maybe shut down. But other than that, like, life continued normal. I think it speaks to the audacity of Israelis to like just go against all the rules and kind of do whatever they feel right. There's the vaccine, and I think like 97% of Israelis is vaccinated, so that helps a lot. You know what I mean? So that everything stayed open. So with COVID, as far as ball, for me, it was more of an experience of rekindling my relationship with myself. Like, it was really difficult at the beginning, but it pushed me to all this, man. Like, none of this would have happened without COVID. I think it accelerated a lot of my self-growth, to kind of leave a man in a room alone with just a mirror and kind of see what comes out the other side. And you can take it one of both ways. And I think gladly, and I'm proud of myself for taking it to that growth side, rather than, there was definitely that depression side, and that, especially being alone out here, and all my family being in Canada and everything. But I think with all those things, you grow and you become a better person if you're able to manage it. With ball, it's interesting. We talked about a little bit how we forget we're 30, man. And you keep doing the same things, and you don't realize like why am I not getting the same results? So I've definitely changed, like as far as on the court, I've definitely changed my game up a lot, especially with back injuries. I've had like herniated discs, and I've had all this stuff. I'm like guarding centers and throughout college and my first couple of years out here. So I've definitely changed the way I play. And as far as training, man, I think we could do a whole episode on that. Is just lots of yoga, lots of meditation. I've really noticed, and I told you about this in one of our conversations. It was one of the teams that I played for out here where I injured my ankle. I like tore ligaments in my ankle, and I kept playing. Like I didn't even notice it at the time. I only noticed it in the off season. And this whole connection between soul and body, like my soul, like my mental side was super stressed because the team was super stressed. Like it was one of the worst years where crowds was like cussing us out doing games, like you're scared to like walk in the tunnel at the end of games, like stuff like that. It was a rough year. But again, I choose to take it to the place where it made me a bigger man. But what I learned more than anything during that year is that connection of soul and body, where if our soul is if our energy and our mindset is kind of off, then it's only a matter of time till we get injured. And that's exactly what happened with my ankle. And I told you, I took it, I researched it a little bit, and there's this whole book by Lewis Hay where it connects different physical stuff that we have to different things in our soul, and it gives you kind of mantras to take on and say once a day, and it helps resolve a lot of physical issues. And it may sound like far-fetched, but I can personally attest that it helped me with a bunch of injuries, like back injuries went away, ankle injuries went away. I just had a knee thing. I had like a sprain in a sprained knee a couple weeks ago, and I started saying it, and that went away. Like obviously I'm doing the work too, like I go to physio, but that whole connection is really interesting. So to answer your question is all those things. Is that there's that soul body connection. It's that realization that we're getting up there, man, and Father Time is undefeated, and you got to change up what you do to stay relevant and to stay, effective. For real. I guess that COVID part is just that growth mindset, and always trying to take that time to kind of see where can we better. I really liked what you said before about that 1%, like continuously evolving, continuously getting better. It's not about that ultimate destination, but am I better today than I was yesterday? Even if it's like 0.001%, I'll even take it to the next level, but I completely connected to that 1%. It's huge. That mentality is amazing. Yeah.
Shout out to my homie Kimchi for that quote.
Yeah. Nice.
And while we're talking about homies, the homie Steph, you remember him?
Yeah,
he wanted me to shout out his fry bread.
Nice, man.
Have you ever tried fry bread before?
I think I gotta come to East Van. I remember trying all these things whenever we come out there.
Yeah.
What was it, like ostrich burger and all this stuff? I remember we would. Where was that? In
burger. Oh my God, Skyway.
Would take me out.
Oh no, we didn't bring you there.
Where would we go? We'd go in East Van. We'd go to Flowers, right?
Huh?
Right. We'd go to what's it called?
Flowers.
Right? Am I right?
Yeah. That's a hidden gem, man.
Right. Yeah. So I guess I'd kind of turn that question back to you. Like same thing. Like how do you notice that the effect of like, I guess, age and COVID and the type of things as you're getting back to it that you're doing differently now?
For me, I definitely have been working on my shot a lot. For about 3 or 4 years now, I've been like dissecting it. I finally started doing reps. I never did that as a kid. I was always an athletic kid. So I would just, try to jump over people and, shoot my 12 and 24. But now, kids are coming up. They're way faster, getting a little stronger. So I got to change my game. I always think about, players in the NBA who really aged well. Like Ray Allen, for instance, was his Shuttlesworth beforehand, dunking on people, all going to the hoop. But then later in his career, he moved over to shooting and spot up shooting, and actually, almost saved LeBron a ring there, right? So I really, that's amazing, man. He changed his game after getting all that work in and making the NBA. That's almost being 2 players in one. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think people realize like how whoever knows Ray Allen, whoever knows, the basketball world, he's probably one of the greatest shooters of all time. I think him, Reggie Miller, and Steph Curry are the top 3 right now, with Steph being number 1. But whoever doesn't know, Ray Allen was a beast coming in. Like, he would be dunking on people one-on-one, like break people down off the dribble. Like, no one could guard him. He was one of those like Grant Hill, Michael Jordan type guys that everyone was afraid of.
Yeah, he got game.
So true. Right? Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And it's so true to kind of like mid-career take that on and change it up. I guess what's that process like for you when you take it to that mental side of like, now I gotta, I guess, let go a little bit of who I was beforehand, like the athletic type of poster maker, you know what I mean, pin down blocker. Now you got to change it up. Like, what's that process like? What do you got to let go of to change that up? I know I've had a similar thing as well.
I mean, I'm still dunking a little bit, right? But I do take a lot of pride in hitting threes nowadays. I've really been working on that. Deep threes are pretty spectacular in regards to how I feel after making a play. It feels good, hitting a deep 3 or a knockdown 3. That's nice, and it suits these days. This day and age's game. Everybody needs a 3-point shooter. Yeah,
it kind of seems like it's like different things hype you up, like as you get older. Would it be like an N1 poster dunk when you're younger, and now it's like a deep 3 or even like a nice dime? It's funny how like our perspective changes, right?
Or the good old up and under. That's
dude. I think I copyrighted the up and under between 2006 and 2010 in high school basketball in BC, man. I think no one could touch it. I would do it like 7 times a half. I would
Damn, man. I couldn't stand the post back then, bro.
So now you've come around. You've realized about that post life.
Oh, I've realized about it. I haven't put it to work.
You haven't done it.
No,
haven't done anything with it.
I'll guard the post, but I'm not playing back to the basket.
I can relate to what you're saying, man, about like developing, like for me for sure too, like with my back injuries and stuff like that, like driving less, putting myself. For me, it was more like just dirty players. Like, I didn't want to put myself in a position in midair to have my health be in someone else's hands or the ref's hands or whatever. So I became like a LaMarcus Aldridge, like mid-range specialist. Like, no one. I think I shoot a higher percentage from mid-range than I do from layups. And that just came with age, right? I guess I want to talk more about that self-doubt. Like, where did that meet you in your playing career? Where did you find that with university or with the pros? Where did that kind of catch you as a player?
It must have started in university. It's tough, going from being the best player or one of the best players to jumping up
like
to
in high school.
Yeah, jumping up to a CIS environment where it's almost guaranteed that you're going to be either a red shirt or coming off the bench. And that's like, whoa, what the heck? And then, it went on to pro as well. I played in the NBL. And there's about 7 guys who are American on a team, and then 4 guys who are Canadian. And pretty much in the whole league, 1 Canadian might play a bit, but it's usually the 7 Americans that play.
Really?
So that was a bit of a kick in the teeth. Like you say, with pro, you can have a good year, or you can not have a good year. Sometimes teams don't click. But yeah. It definitely it makes you rethink your love of the game and how you like playing it. I really enjoy having the ball in my hands. Being a spectator on the sideline isn't really my bag. Even if you're getting paid for it, right? It's not really about the money for me. It's more about expressing myself in an athletic way on the basketball court, right?
So how'd you deal with that? How'd you deal with that change? Like from let's talk about maybe in university, from like a star player where everything's on your shoulders and you get to dictate and control such a large part of the game, to all of a sudden having to be on a squad where maybe 8 out of the 12 guys were in similar situations beforehand, and now we're all on the same team trying to make it work.
To be honest, I just keep playing. Whatever league that'll take me. I just love hooping. I tried to join a competitive league in round ball, but they denied me. They said, no, you're not.
Denied your application.
You're
Yeah.
only in the elite league. So I said, okay, yeah. No, but definitely there's places out there you can hoop, and I think that's the most important. Actually playing.
I guess after self-doubt, I want to touch on like injuries. And I think similar to COVID, where you find yourself kind of at home, you'd have times throughout your career where you have a major injury. Like I can speak for myself. I had ankle surgery like in like grade 10 where I sat out a year. I had a herniated disc.
Wow.
Before grade 12 where I sat out like 8 months, and just that time at home, like maybe take me through that. How'd you deal with that throughout your career, or during this last little while where it's very similar, like you said, where you're away from ball, you're away from training, you're away from that. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I've always had like a couple knee injuries, couple ankle injuries, but I noticed when I did put on that weight, the knee injuries and ankle injuries were way more severe. It was really tough. A lot of weight on my right knee. Did a Euro step, and wow, that was a lot of pain. Try to finish
Really?
the game, yeah, yeah. So that's when I realized that I had to change it up a little bit if I wanted to keep hooping at that level.
So what'd you do? What'd you end up doing with that?
First, I had to rest quite a bit. Then I did a lot of ice. I've been hitting Tiger Balm pretty heavy. Um, yeah, there's a couple creams I use as well. Massage is very important. Yeah, but rest is also it's up there. Yeah.
I guess the last thing I want to touch on is with like when we're in that space of we got all this time off. We talked about a little bit before the difference between like rest and self-indulgence. That fine line. I've experienced it too throughout COVID. My battle with it maybe is a little bit different, and we can share about that after. But I'd like to hear from you, kind of how you manage that line between resting and recovering to self-indulging and maybe doing yourself harm with that time alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in a spot where I was eating, 3 full meals every day, and not moving, just being very lethargic if it wasn't the couch, the bed, right? Um, watching a lot of shows, and yeah, it was real tough. But yeah, shout out to the people who give us spaces to do be active and do
Right.
around. We got a guy out here named Hemi. He's running these ruthless runs. I don't know if you've seen them, but it's just dope to see all these guys come out. You get like 20 guys a night. Everybody gets a highlight. He's doing highlights for everybody.
That's it.
And, everybody's getting in their bag. Everybody's got moves. Everybody can play, and I really like that about basketball. I really do. Yeah.
What would you tell people that find themselves like in that spot at home? Like, what could they do to get themselves going a little bit and break that habit of just sitting around and self-indulging?
Definitely just holler at your homies, man. My homies, Will and Kimchi, we always go play 21 Under the Bridge. Yeah, we were hitting up David Lamb quite a bit. And when you go out, sometimes somebody might be, there might be 3 people over there, 3 people over there. You could play 4-on-4. And it works out, right? Yeah, just getting out and doing it is pretty important.
Right.
For guys like us, I assume for sure.
I guess, yeah, like what I'm hearing is just take action. Like, don't just sit around and expect anything to change. Like, call up a friend, call up like a healthy environment that could push you to get yourself going and have that be your motivator, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, you can get a physical workout. You can build it out of anything. If you get a couple guys over here, a couple guys over here, all of a sudden that competitive aspect is not as important, and you just want to get your body moving and get that stuff done.
Yeah.
I guess the last two questions we always end up on is the first one is how do you define success?
Oh, how do I define success?
Yeah.
For me, success. Define. That's a good question, my friend. I would have to say someone's happiness and comfortability. You know, there's a lot of things that people want in life, but finding a space that makes you comfortable, I think that's definitely up there. Yeah.
Can you expand on that? Like, what do you mean? Because I think it's really beautiful. Like, how can you take that like on a little bit of a deeper level, like that comfortable space?
I feel there's a lot of people out there who are working their butt off for these certain things that they think they need, but in reality, if you can strive to be comfortable and happy with yourself, I think everyone else will be happy with you and comfortable with you. Yeah, like if someone's walking their dog and they see you and they are uncomfortable, their dog is going to be uncomfortable. If they are real comfortable, then everybody's going to be comfortable, and that'll help it out. There's definitely a fine line, as we've spoken on, of getting too comfortable, where you don't want to be there. But yeah, I think finding a good place for yourself is very important in life.
I like that, man. I like that definition. Like my head being ultra like performance oriented and like school of performance and all that, it automatically went to like that 1% stuff we said before, like being 1% better, being better than yesterday. But man, like you really caught me off guard there. Like that whole different perspective. It's what I hear in that is like self acceptance. Like when we truly accept ourselves, like just the way we are and just the way we're not, and maybe our situation in life in that moment, like that's success, because that's like ultimate happiness.
Yeah,
and that's
awesome.
huge.
Yeah, that's really big.
And that's huge.
I think coaching and of course living this long has garnered me a little more insight on the different people, the difference people can have on each other. You can have one kid that doesn't win a game, the whole day. Like, they gotta be comfortable too, right? And they gotta have some sort of success as well. And just measuring it with the best of the best is not always the way.
Right. Like taking away that competitive aspect is what I'm hearing and what you're saying. Like winning and losing is fun and all, but at the end of the day, it's not the bigger thing, right? Like the biggest thing is our happiness, our self-being, our self-acceptance, the way we affect the people around us. Like you said, like that difference we can make, and how much you've noticed it, man. I can relate to that. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
I had one of my friends, he coaches out here. He's a sports psychologist now. He said a great quote about at the end of the day, winning or losing is the same thing. And it sounds crazy, you know what I mean? Like to us, competitive athletes is like, what do you mean? Like, how could that be? But at the end of the day, when you're losing, it's the same thing. Like that's informative and that's informative. That's learning and that's learning.
Yeah.
It depends where we take it. Like, do we focus on the negative aspect and what we've done wrong? Or do we focus on the positive aspect and what we can improve on and what can we get better at and what have we done good? And that way you can affect the most lives. That way you can affect the most people. That's cool, man. That's caught me. Yeah,
I like that.
It was like, it's cool. I'm glad we touched on that, man. Just that like self-acceptance and all that. That's huge. And I guess the last thing I always ask, the last thing we always kind of end on is if you could catch Demi at maybe at like BC Games or in high school or in college or at one of those like beginnings of beginning stages, what would you if you could pull him aside and kind of whisper in his ear like a couple of insights that would help him out a lot, along the way, what would you kind of tell him?
Do your SATs. Go D1.
Go D1, yeah. You think so? Is that like?
Yeah, I definitely should have gone to the States to play out of high school. I think that would have changed my trajectory a little bit. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't do them. I saw the book, I looked at it, but yeah, I didn't go for that part. What else would I say? Yeah, I would also say be way more patient, especially when the times got tough. I have seen a lot of players who remember that switch we talked about, going from maybe high school to university to pro. I've seen a lot of players go up to a level and ride it out for a couple years as maybe a lower level player and go up, even coming from grade 8 to grade 12, or maybe a grade 10 on a grade 12 team, working their way up and becoming the top of that league. I would have been like, hey, be a little more patient, grind it up a couple more years with whatever happened, and yeah, you might have had a better result.
Like good things come to those who wait. Like grind it out, do your work, kind of hash it out, and good things will come.
Yeah, that's definitely a success-driven ideology. Like if I could have been any higher in basketball, that's where I would have probably changed my career. That's not to say that I'm not very proud of myself and happy with what I've done as a player, and all my teammates and coaches that I've ever had. I'm very, very proud and humbled by the power they've given me, that I have, which is to pass it on to the next generation and teach what I've learned by so many great basketball minds.
That's huge, man. No, you definitely got a lot to be proud of. And I know from personal experience, man, and getting to experience you as a person. I know my dad loves you. We always joke around about it, but it just kind of speaks to your character and who you are as a person. And I know so many people that when they see you, it just puts, they're automatically more positive and more optimistic about whatever was going on in their lives in that moment. And
you're so kind, man.
And I can't say that about a lot of people, I mean, that whatever situation that they step into, the environment is automatically, more positive, and you have that influence, and I'm sure you influence, the kids you work with and the players you play with and all the people that are around you.
We do have a good time.
What's that?
We do have a good time.
Yeah, man, for sure. So I want to acknowledge you for that, man. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. I'm glad we got to do it. Hopefully I make it out there in the summer. I know I've been talking to like Zayons and Connor and a bunch of guys, maybe through here, maybe through the phone, about catching up. And I think we'll do a little charity game when we get back at one of the beaches. We'll get everyone back from college together and just play a little bit and hopefully get some donations. Yeah, maybe for Queen Keith's Foundation or something like that. We'll set it up and just to see everyone and catch up. So I think that'll be a good time.
Let's see. I still see Dan Evans. I still see him around. I saw him just outside on Yale Town. Who else do I see? That's about it.
It's such a small world, eh? Like Vancouver being so big, but who's that?
I seen Ashton at the beach. Yeah,
nice.
He's jacked.
He's a good guy. Yeah, he played with us. Yeah, always been jacked. I think that dude was born jacked.
He's jacked now.
I remember throughout college, he'd say he never eats vegetables, and this dude just puts the myth to the test of like, you got to eat healthy to look like that. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
No, man, I acknowledge you. It's been a blast. Hopefully we do it again sometime. Hopefully I'll see you in person soon. And thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Oh, and remember, when you get that thing, make sure that you shoot that thing.
100%. We'll put that in the comments, man, in bold letters. That's dope.
All right.
That's the way to end it off.
Adios, brother.
Good to see you, man. Have a good night. Later, guys.